10 years ago, I moved into a quiet suburban neighborhood for a fresh start. The first person to greet me was my elderly neighbor, Frank. It was early morning, and I'd just parked the moving truck in front of my new home. Frank was walking his puppy, Chip, and we struck up a conversation. Meeting like this would become kind of a morning ritual for us. As the years passed, I would wake for my morning jog, and like clockwork, Frank and Chip would be starting their own AM walk. We would share some pleasantries, chat about the goings-ons of our lives. I'd spend a few minutes romping with the dog, and we'd part ways. Every day, I would offer to take Chip with me on the run, and every day, Frank would tell me the same thing.
All I got left in the world is this house and my best friend. Thank you, but Chip and I will never part until one of us leaves this world.
Or something to that effect. I would always nod and wish him well, then be off to get my blood pumping and collect my thoughts for the day. For a full decade, we played out this same exchange, but a few days ago, everything changed. I came out and breathed the cool twilight air, ready for another jaunt around the community. Frank and Chip emerged from their house, and we met on the sidewalk like always. This time, Frank was somber, and he was silent. I said good morning, and he offered only a nod. Something was off with Chip as well. It was as if a terrible melancholy had overtaken them both. In an attempt to brighten the mood, I took Chip into the yard, and we played for a minute. But when I looked up, Frank was gone. I heard the front screen door in his house creak and close loudly. To say this was unusual would be an understatement. I walked Chip to Frank's porch and rang the doorbell, but I forgot the bell had been broken for years. I knocked loudly then. Nothing. I listened at the door for a time. His home was silent as a grave. I tried knocking a few more times with no response. Chip was getting anxious. He was whining and looking at me as if requesting an explanation. Maybe he finally decided to let me take you for a run, I told him. Let's go, boy. Let the old man have a little rest. We jogged through the neighborhood and stopped to play some fetch at the park. After an hour or so, we headed home. I returned to Frank's porch and gave his door a few knocks. Still no answer. I tried the knob. Locked. Chip was looking at me for answers again. I don't know, boy. Maybe he's napping. We'll try again in a few hours. I took Chip home and called off work for the day. I didn't know what else to do. To the best of my knowledge, Frank had no family in the area. His wife had passed years before I moved there, and I never saw any friends, children, or grandchildren come for a visit. Having assumed it was a touchy subject, I never asked about it. Our morning chats usually consisted of our work and our hobbies, and nothing else. I took Chip home and waited. We'd come outside every so often for a short walk, and to glance at Frank's house for any sign of the old man. As the moon replaced the sun in the sky, I was both irritated and a bit worried. I put Chip on his leash, and we marched back to the porch. I knocked hard, rattling the door. When he didn't answer this time, I began yelling his name. Chip began barking from all the excitement. The poor fellow was obviously confused, probably scared, but I ignored him. I was pissed now. I'd offered to take this dog for 10 years, and when the old man finally agrees, he ghosts me. No, this door was coming open one way or another. I put my shoulder into it once, twice, third time. It didn't take much. The archaic wood broke from its hinges and fell inside. "Frank!" I shouted again, walking into his living room, but then I saw him in the next room. He was seated at the kitchen table, his upper body spread across the surface. Frank? I slowly moved around the table to get a better view. The old man's face lay flush against the tabletop, his eyes wide open. His right hand clutched his chest. His left was balled into a fist, holding a pen tightly. My worst fears were confirmed. Frank didn't answer the door because he was dead. Heart attack, from the look of it. I noticed a piece of notebook paper protruding from under his head. It looked like he was writing a letter addressed to me. I slid the page free. Tears began to run as I read Frank's dying words.
Dear neighbor, the day after my best friend came into my life, you did too. You probably didn't know that I got chipped the day before you moved into town. It never seemed like an important fact to share, until now. I was lonely for a long time before I knew the two of you. Life lost its meaning when my beloved Darla passed. We never had any children. Not sure if it was me or her, but we just couldn't make it happen. Darla wanted a dog for the longest time, but I was a stubborn ass. Didn't want the responsibility. After she was gone, I thought I'd give it a try. I think it was her telling me to do it. She worried I wouldn't last long on my own, and she was right. The day I got chipped, something changed in me. You see, I never would have come out to talk to you before I got that pup. I would have sat here, bitter and alone, watching my programs and eating microwave dinners, and I probably would have died a lot sooner. Darla brought me to Chip. Chip brought me to you, and every day has been brighter with the both of you in them. You ask to take Chip with you every morning, and every morning I say no thank you, but I don't think I can say that much longer. Chip's going to need you soon. My health is failing. I don't know.
The final sentence ended with a dark line cutting through the paper. I assume he meant to have had this given to me after his death, but it looked like the old man's prediction came true even as he wrote these parting words. Police and medical arrived on the scene a few minutes after I made the call. I waited outside with Chip as they did their jobs inside. The commotion faded to background noise as I thought about it all. The morning, the letter, everything about that damn day. But then I heard it. Call it. Time of death, approximately 1 a.m. The words from the coroner's mouth shook me from my thoughts. That was impossible. Frank left me with Chip just after 6 a.m., as always. I pushed my way back inside to look at the man directly. Did you say 1 a.m.? 1 a.m., he repeated. This man died early in the morning. The medical examiner will have a much more precise time for you, but that's a close estimate. Not to toot my own horn, but I usually get these within an hour or two. I saw Frank this morning, I stuttered. Around 6. Not likely, the coroner said. He was gone long before then. Jarred by the realization of what the man was saying, I hadn't noticed that Chip somehow got off his leash. He stood on the seat of Frank's old favorite chair, moaning contently and licking the air.